Welcome back, students of fitness, to another episode of the Liftology podcast. Rich and Joe back with you today with another episode, and today we're going to cover the carnivore diet. What is it? We're going to cover glucose, the production of it and its uses, ketones, the production of them and their uses, pros and cons of both, and how the carnivore diet plays into it. After that, we are going to cover claims that are made from the diet, and then we're going to close out with some micronutrient deficiency that can stem. So, with that being said, let's get started right away. Joe, what is the carnivore diet?
So, broken down into its simplest terms, the carnivore diet is an elimination diet. What that means is its primary focus is to eliminate large groups of food from your diet.
Mm-hmm.
Carnivore diet, literally speaking, focuses on animal products, neglecting vegetables, fruits, legumes, seeds, nuts, really just strictly animal product foods.
Okay, and from that, it is going to basically be a higher fat and higher protein diet, just because of that, right?
High fat, high protein. I think in its, I think the most accepted term range for the carnivore diet is 70% of your dietary intake coming from animal products, a minimum of 70%.
Okay.
So there is some wiggle room in there for.
Now, when you say animal products, the 70% you're talking about fats.
No,
Right?
I mean like 70% of
No,
everything you
I'm
eat.
sorry. I'm thinking of calorie intake
Yeah,
from it.
no, I just
You're
mean
talking about the actual percentage of intake of food.
correct.
Okay. Okay. Well, with that, uh, kind of makes it tough for glucose. No.
Makes it very, very tough for glucose. And that's kind of the idea behind it.
Yeah.
It's
Elimination of, well, mainly carbs being the biggest thing that is eliminated from it.
That's the key, right? Because when we say fruits, vegetables, starches, we're all referring to carbohydrates. So it's a carbohydrate limiting diet, almost eliminating. And I say almost eliminating because depending on what you read, some have said that you can still get 10% of your caloric intake from carbohydrates and still be on a carnivore diet. Others say, strictly carnivore.
So, it's typically not as well defined as like the Atkins diet or
Yeah.
But it's in the same stratosphere as them.
Yep.
That's kind of.
I like that. Same stratosphere, yes.
That's kind of how it gained popularity too. Also, with some cases being, it's helping in.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the main reason it became mainstreamed and popularized was because people were using it to cure illnesses, autoimmune deficiencies, and so on and so forth. But since then, it's taken off into its own thing, where now it's a lifestyle.
Yeah, but before we get off topic, I think we should keep that in for the claims aspect of it, right?
Absolutely.
And we should dive right into glucose production uses, pros and cons,
and then
alternatively, ketones.
Yes.
Production pros and cons.
Yeah. So the second one, ketones, being what the carnivore diet is shooting.
Yeah. I mean, we have it's responsible of us to give a little background on the glucose before we talk about the right.
Absolutely.
Because glucose is simple sugar. It is responsible for the energy made in our body. Like ATP is ATP produced from. Sorry, let me out here. ATP is broken down to produce energy from glucose.
ATP is broken down.
No. Glucose breaks down Yes,
create energy in the form of ATP.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm
Dys-
little
dyslexic.
dyslexic. Yeah, I not to be ableist, but I just having a little
Yep, that's all right.
mix up with that. Um, okay, so how do we like? There are two processes, right?
Correct.
You want to take us through those two processes?
Yes. So there's glycogenolysis, right?
That'll get you some points in Scrabble.
Yeah. So glycogenolysis is taking glucose from the liver and muscle tissue and using that glucose to form ATP for energy. And then there's gluconeogenesis, which is the primarily used during exercise, and that's more of a starch-based, using starches for the creation of ATP.
It's more your intake than pulling from the body.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
If
you think about like,
which is the healthier way to be making the energy, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you're talking about like breaking muscle down.
Yeah, if you think of like genesis, the creation, like that's why gluconeogenesis is creating the energy from intake.
Okay. All right, so that's basically a quick rundown of how energy is made from glucose and all that stuff. So, I'm gonna just go over the pros and cons real quick.
Yeah. So,
you want to cover the pros? I'll take some of the cons.
Okay, because I'm always the half glass full.
Wow.
So, so obviously one of the pros that people think of when they think about glucose is brain function. Right? Yeah. So it's a big source of energy. Promotes brain function. You get a significant amount of ATP from the breakdown of a glucose molecule. And
but it's not very efficient, right?
Not super efficient.
It's a lot,
but it is a lot.
Which we typically don't operate as a whole, as the human body, at peak efficiency. So like, why would that be any different?
Yeah.
So I mean, want to go over cons then?
No, you had it. You're the half glass empty kind of guy.
I meant you, like us.
Yes.
Let's move on. High levels of glucose could lead to hyperglycemia, which could lead to type 2 build some insulin resistance from having so much glucose in your bloodstream for an extended period of time, right? The alternative to that is hypoglycemia, which is the polar opposite of hyperglycemia, which means you don't have enough glucose. It would negatively affect your central nervous system. Also, you'd probably be a little bit more fatigued. And so glucose needs to be regulated, right?
Yes.
And it's typically regulated with glucagon and insulin.
Yep. Hormones.
Insulin being the bigger one that everyone, because if you happen to be diabetic or know someone who's diabetic, or general working knowledge of the human body, know that people that are diabetic typically have to take insulin shots.
Yes, and also important to note that the hyperglycemia that you're talking about is the type 2 diabetes.
Yes. Is it still? It's not adult onset anymore. It's type 2.
Type 2.
Because unfortunately, you don't have to be
an
adult to get type 2.
It's a sad state that it used to be called adult onset diabetes, and now they're like, but it's happening to 12-year-olds. That's rough.
Yeah. Not a great look. Is now, I don't know the research on that particularly. Is that more of a just like American issue, or is it like, because I feel like it would
probably. I mean, we have the highest rate of obesity in the world, right? I mean,
so it's probably, without researching it, happens everywhere, but just it's more in your face here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Okay. So having covered that, I think the next logical thing to go over would be ketones.
Yep.
Right. Why don't we? I like this little back and forth we've got going on
All
here.
right.
Why don't you take us through a little bit of the ketones production and the use?
Okay, so ketones are um, essentially another fuel source for the
Okay.
body. They are water soluble fatty molecules that the body uses for energy. Um, they are composed of two variable parts, carbonyl group and I lost my spot here.
Well, the other group has. I don't know. I can't think of the name off the top of my head either. But I know the other group has 3 types of ketone bodies.
Yeah.
If you want to just take that and go over what, or you want me to take the ketone body name?
Yeah, go for it. I just got to
All right.
find my spot
The
again in my
three
notes. Sorry.
three are acetone, right? Aceto.
Ketoacetate.
Words.
Yep.
Hard. And why don't you save me from embarrassment and cover the beta hydrox?
Butyrate. Beta hydroxybutyrate.
All right. And as far as ketones go, they are produced in small amounts amongst people, even like healthy individuals too. We do produce it as a complement to glucose, right?
Yeah. In fact, as infants, I believe they are the primary source of energy for everybody.
I'll ask. I have two
That's
twins on
twins.
the way, so I'll ask them when they can finally speak.
Yep.
And okay, so however, like I said, it complements glucose, right?
Yes.
But when glucose is not readily available,
Body can kind of shift back and forth.
which is good.
Yeah.
Right? Evolution, like kind of steered us down that path, probably.
Yep.
But that could be bad. like ketones is like a big portion of what people want. Like if you're producing ketones, it means you're in ketosis, and that's where you want to be with these diets typically.
Using fat for fuel.
But using fat for fuel can be bad because ketones, like excess ketones in the body, are generally indicative of like diabetes too, right?
Yep.
And also alcoholism, which would be like another liver issue.
Yeah.
Which would probably play a major role in how you can handle a diet.
Yeah.
So, where is it produced?
The powerhouse of the cell, the mitochondria. Everybody remembers that from biology.
That's the only thing people remember from biology, right?
Yeah. Well, that and the nucleus.
I can't say that I'm sure that everyone remembers that. But so when it's produced in when ketogenesis happens in the mitochondria, right?
Yep.
It creates a byproduct of acetyl CoA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Acetyl CoA, when 2 of the molecules bond, right, they'll form either the acetone that we talked about or the beta hydroxybutyrate.
Yep.
I hate.
Which is pretty cool because it's like just another another way of kind of like what you said, like evolutionary, like the body can just determine what it needs more of and just do it. Yeah.
Nike.
Just do it. Yeah. It's cool. Like you don't even have to. Nobody even knows this is going on inside of them. It's just kind of happening.
That's a lot of things that happen in the body too, right? Like you don't think about breathing. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now think about it.
Unless you're
for the rest of the podcast,
yeah, I know,
you're
right?
like,
unless you meditate.
Well, I mean, that's kind of breath training, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of something that you could put into people's routines,
Yeah.
like breath work and all that kind of stuff, which helps with lifts and like general overall health.
Overall health. Breathing's super important. Something we'll talk about down the line.
General overall health?
No, breathing.
General overall health.
Yeah, that guy.
Anyway, I'm gonna take the pros.
You can take the pros this time.
Is ketones are a more efficient source of energy.
Yes,
over
more
glucose.
efficient pathway. Yep.
It also, like we covered, it is alternative energy source if glucose isn't available, which can be beneficial toward times of stress, like ischemia and the trauma, or when glucose isn't available. Like
Yep.
these are the things that, because especially the brain, right? The brain
Correct.
needs the glucose to function. Ketosis will kind of produce that glucose that gets to the brain.
Yep.
After like other byproducts, but excuse me, allergies.
Yeah.
But they can also eliminate risks, other health risks of like some kinds of autoimmune diseases. It's just these are still being researched, so
Yes. But
everything that we're saying is almost entirely anecdotal.
yeah, except for
also
epilepsy. That's like the big one.
That one actually is,
Yes.
which it will reduce.
Yeah, and just to be clear, it's the ketogenic diet, not the carnivore diet, but a ketogenic diet that is used to treat epilepsy, particularly in younger populations,
because they're typically well monitored.
Yeah, extremely well monitored.
Which is a major portion of this. Some of these diets, like where your body can be producing excess ketones that would take you into ketoacidosis and sometimes diabetic ketoacidosis. Get to are not good, and kind of winging it on your own is not the best way to handle this diet.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going on and on.
That's
and
right.
I think I covered one of the cons of it because I just like talking so much. But go ahead and close us out with the cons of.
So, as you mentioned, diabetic ketoacidosis is another insulin resistant, another form of insulin resistance.
Okay.
And also the sorry, I almost lost my train of thought there. Also the
I think you did. I just
yeah.
Sorry.
Also there's definitely there has been links to lack of energy and high intensity exercising.
Yeah.
On the when you're in ketosis.
Yeah. So. I mean, it can be a form of energy, can be more efficient than glucose, but ketoacidosis could make it a lot harder for you to get through intense work.
Yeah.
Because well, I'll just go like not an anecdotal thing here, right? When you a marathon or half marathon or something like that, you typically hear those old like wives' tales of make sure you carb up the day before, and it has some merit, not entirely just like, hey, down a box of pasta before the night before.
3 pounds of pasta. Yeah.
But there is like a lot of things in the fitness industry stem from something that works.
You played high school sports, right? You remember like pasta nights? Like one mom from like the team would be like, oh, pasta night, and she'd literally whip up like 40 pounds of pasta for everybody.
Yeah, you get the spaghetti, you break it up and you toss it in the pod.
Yeah,
I know that one hurt you.
Yeah, that's do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah, and just other symptoms that people have reported include nausea, vomiting, stomach pains.
Oh, okay. Sorry. We're transitioning into the claims now, or
no? I was just talking about other cons of being in ketosis.
Oh, okay. Which I mean is kind of funny because that does, in fact, us into the claims because that